Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast, the show where we probe the paranormal and uncover the truth that's out there. I'm Adrian Smith.
And I'm Julia Jones, ready for another paranormal probe. Today we're heading to the Gobi Desert. We've got a missing family, strange whispers, and maybe even a portal to another dimension. We'll be digging into a fictional account of this case. But you know what they say, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
Okay, let's get into it. We start with a family of 4 tourists who vanish without a trace in the vast Gobi Desert. Their SUV is found, abandoned belongings scattered, and there are these strange footprints leading into the dunes. What immediately strikes you as odd about this, Julia?
Oh, for me, it's the footprints. It suggests something walked away from the vehicle, but where to? And why leave the SUV behind? Was this a choice, or were they forced? The story gets even creepier with a recovered audio recording from the scene. You hear whispers in an unknown language. Chilling stuff.
This is where our main character, Maya Lin, a journalist, comes in. Her brother disappeared years ago, so she's got this personal connection to the mystery. Driven by her own past, Maya dives headfirst into the case. Do you think this personal connection hinders her objectivity as an investigator, or does it fuel her determination?
That's a good question. It could be a double-edged sword. The emotional connection could cloud her judgment or make her more susceptible to believing anything that confirms her suspicions. But on the other hand, it could also give her the tenacity and drive to uncover the truth where others might give up. What's fascinating is that Maya keeps encountering the name Aryan Bayer Delger, a professor of antiquities and an expert in desert mythology.
Talk about an unusual combination.
Yeah.
You wouldn't typically think someone studying ancient myths would be mixed up in a modern-day disappearance.
Right. It's almost as if those two worlds, the ancient and the modern, are somehow colliding in this case. Maya tracks Dilger down in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia's capital. He's a bit of an enigma scholarly, but with this edgy leather jacket vibe. She plays him the recording of those whispers, and he immediately recognizes the tone of the voices. He claims he's heard something similar in ancient nomadic verses.
And that's when he drops a bombshell. Delger connects these whispers to legends of a place called the Whispering Dunes. According to the legends, there are stargates hidden beneath the sand. Now, Maya, being a journalist, is naturally skeptical.
Of course. But something about Delger and his conviction convinces her to go to these Whispering Dunes with him. They eventually reach a point where they have to continue on foot. And that's where things take a truly strange turn.
They start hearing the whispers, but it's not just an external sound. It feels like it's inside their heads. They're drawn toward the dunes, almost like they're being hypnotized.
Yes. And then this eerie light starts emanating from the dunes. It's described as unnatural, something beyond a simple campfire or any explainable light source. And then out of the darkness, they see these skeletal figures moving in a disjointed, unnatural way. The stuff of nightmares, really.
Delger, pulling from his knowledge of ancient lore, calls them the Empty Ones.
He uses an amulet with a star symbol to ward them off, but it's clearly a temporary solution. They are in very real danger. They soon discover what's been pulling them in a shimmering archway, pulsing with energy, the legendary Stargate.
And Delger drops another bombshell. This isn't a gateway to another star, but to another reality. He explains that the Empty Ones had actually breached this gateway long ago, but were driven back. The ancient tribes then sealed the gateway, but something or someone has reopened it. This raises an important question for our listeners. If you were Maya, what would be going through your mind at this moment?
I think fear and disbelief would be battling it out with an intense curiosity. The very foundations of your understanding of the world are being challenged. But let's be honest, a part of you would be thrilled at the possibility of this being real. It's the ultimate unknown.
Absolutely. But this is just the beginning of their troubles. The story really kicks into high gear from this point on. We'll dive deeper into Maya and Delger's encounter with the Stargate after a quick break. Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast. We left off with Maya and Delger facing a shimmering portal to another reality, a Stargate guarded by those terrifying skeletal figures, the Empty Ones. It's a classic setup for a horror movie, but what's interesting here is how the author uses this fantastical scenario to explore deeper themes.
Absolutely. The story isn't just about monsters and portals. It's about facing the unknown, the limits of our understanding, and the courage to challenge our own perceptions of reality. We left off with Delger explaining that these Empty Ones had breached the gateway before but were driven back. The ancient tribes sealed it, but something or someone has reopened it. This brings up the question of intent. Was this accidental or was it a deliberate act? And if so, what was the purpose?
Right. The story doesn't give us easy answers. It leaves us to ponder the possibilities, which I think is what makes it so compelling. But let's get back to Maya and Delger. They're standing before this pulsing archway surrounded by these menacing creatures. What happens next?
Well, Maya, being the resourceful journalist she is, starts examining the inscription on Delger's amulet, the one he used to momentarily ward off the empty ones.
Mhm.
She notices similarities between the symbols on the amulet and those on the archway itself, and then in a flash of brilliance, she comes up with a daring plan.
She decides to fight fire with fire, right? Using the symbols, she draws a counterspell, theorizing that by reversing the polarity of the symbols, she could overload the gate and shut it down.
Exactly. It's a desperate gamble, but they're running out of options. As the empty ones close in, Maya slams her makeshift sigil onto the shimmering portal. The gateway implodes with a blinding flash. The empty ones vanish and silence descends on the dunes. They've managed to close the gate, but Delger, the cryptic professor, warns her that sealing these gateways can be messy. There can be, as he puts it, leftovers.
Ooh, that's ominous. What does he mean by leftovers? What could possibly be left behind after something like that?
Well, as the sun rises, they see a tall figure in the distance, way too tall to be human, silhouetted against the dawn. And then it just vanishes into the sand, leaving Maya and Delger to wonder what they've unleashed. It's a brilliant cliffhanger that leaves the reader with a sense of unease and anticipation. We've vanquished one threat, but have we inadvertently created another? The story ends there, but it feels like the beginning of something bigger, doesn't it? Maya has closed this one gate, but Delger hinted at the existence of others. It makes you wonder if this encounter was just a taste of what's to come, a prelude to an even greater adventure.
And it makes you think about the implications of these stargates. If they exist, what does that mean for our understanding of the universe and our place in it? Could there be other realities out there just waiting to be discovered? Or are we better off leaving these gateways closed? It's a question that has fascinated humanity for centuries, and this story taps into that primal fear and fascination with the unknown. This fictional account raises so many thought-provoking questions. It challenges us to consider the possibility of things beyond our current understanding, and to confront the idea that there might be forces at work in the universe that we can barely comprehend. What do you think, listeners? Does the idea of stargates and other realities excite you or terrify you? Let us know. But before you do, let's take a moment to consider one final question. Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast. We've been on quite a journey with this story, haven't we? It started with a simple missing persons case and quickly spiraled into a confrontation with interdimensional beings and the closure of a supposed gateway to another reality.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. But beyond the thrills and chill, what really strikes me is the way this story plays with our perception of reality. It takes something as familiar as the Gobi Desert and transforms it into a place of wonder and terror, a landscape where the boundaries of our world become thin and permeable.
You're right. The author doesn't just throw in fantastical elements for shock value. They use them to make us question what we believe is possible. What if those ancient legends about stargates weren't just stories? What if there really are other dimensions out there coexisting with our own, separated by fragile barriers that can be breached under the right circumstances? It's a tantalizing and terrifying thought.
And it makes you wonder about the nature of those other realities. Are they similar to our own or completely different? What kind of beings might inhabit them? The story gives us a glimpse with the empty ones, these skeletal figures that seem to embody emptiness and decay. But what if there are other entities out there, beings with their own motivations and desires who might not be so hostile?
That's a fascinating question. The story focuses on the threat, the danger posed by the empty ones, and the potential for others like them to cross over. But what if there are benevolent beings out there as well? Beings who might want to help us to share their knowledge or technology. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, doesn't it?
It does. And it challenges us to expand our definition of alien. We tend to think of aliens in terms of extraterrestrial life beings from other planets, but what if the truly alien exists right here on Earth, just beyond our perception, hidden in dimensions we can't normally access?
The story also highlights the role of human curiosity in uncovering these mysteries. Maya, driven by her own personal loss and her insatiable thirst for knowledge, is the one who ultimately figures out how to close the gateway. It suggests that maybe we're not meant to be passive observers in the face of the unknown, but active explorers seeking to understand and even control these forces.
And it raises ethical questions, too. If we do have the ability to open and close these stargates, should we? What are the risks and rewards? The story shows us the potential dangers, but it also hints at the possibility of incredible discoveries, even advancements in technology or medicine, if we could learn to harness the power of these other dimensions.
This fictional account leaves us with so much to ponder. It's a reminder that the universe is a vast and mysterious place full of wonders and dangers we can barely comprehend. And it challenges us to keep asking questions, to keep exploring, to keep pushing the boundaries of what we believe is possible. What do you think, listeners? Are you ready to join Maya on her quest for truth, even if it means facing the unknown and all its perils? Hit us up on social media with your theories because we need to process this one. And don't forget to rate and follow the True Alien Podcast for more mind-bending stories. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.